Okay, so what were my results after vegan keto for 28 days? Overall, I'd say this is probably the hardest diet I've ever done. I've done a lot of restrictive diets, carnivore, paleo, Whole30, Mediterranean keto. I've done lots of prolonged fasting, where I fast anywhere from 2 to 5 days at a time. And this was probably the hardest, or one of the hardest, not only in terms of compliance because of the dietary restrictions, but also because of how I felt. Overall, I'd say I felt pretty bad. So, a couple of things that I experienced. Number one was decreased strength. After about a week, I noticed a significant drop in my strength in the gym. And I think that a couple of reasons that could be was one, when you have low animal protein intake, you have reduced intake of the amino acid called leucine, which is of all the amino acids, it's the one that's the most strongly associated with muscle growth. Also, because the diet is ketogenic and you're lowering insulin levels, insulin has been shown to help preserve muscle tissue. And so, when you're on a vegan diet, you traditionally eat a significant amount of carbohydrates, which help increase insulin and can help preserve muscle. And so, people on vegan diets may not experience that loss of strength. And same is true for ketogenic diets, in that even though they have lower levels of insulin, they have lots of animal protein, which the presence of leucine helps preserve muscle. And so I was doing, basically low of both. And so that's probably why I lost strength. Second thing that I experienced that was pretty terrible was my digestion, specifically gas. I have been on, like I said, lots of different diets, very high protein diets. We're doing lots of whey protein shakes. And if anybody knows about doing lots of whey protein, that can cause a lot of gas, but this was even worse. And probably this was due to just a higher fiber intake, and also because my protein sources were limited on vegan keto, I had to depend a lot on vegan protein powders. And so likely that was a major contributor there. I also experienced lower libido. As far as what could have caused that, it could be saturated fat intake being so low. Saturated fats are necessary for um, sexual hormone production, and so by being pretty low in saturated fat and cholesterol intake, it's possible that my testosterone levels or testosterone production was limited. Um, Also decreased energy, not even just the strength issues, but during the day I felt like I had lower energy. And again, the goal of this diet was to lower mTOR. And mTOR is a contributor to, or is a self-signaling molecule that helps promote, reproduction of cells and growth of cells. And so by lowering both insulin, by doing a ketogenic version of this diet, and then by lowering animal protein, which animal protein has been shown to be, to stimulate mTOR, I was really dropping mTOR activity. And so maybe the persistent drop of mTOR caused the lower energy levels. When you compare this again to a ketogenic diet where you have intermittent pulses of mTOR because you're eating animal protein, you probably don't drop mTOR as much. And so that's why when I do ketogenic diets, I don't notice the low energy. And in terms of vegan diets, again, because you're eating carbs and stimulating insulin, insulin also stimulates mTOR. And so, people who go on vegan diets probably don't notice a lack of energy because of that intermittent mTOR stimulation through carbohydrate intake. Um, Another thing I noticed was increased inflammation, particularly in my knee. I have a chronic knee injury, and it had been over a year, about a year and a half before or since I had any, symptoms there, and I started to get swelling in the knee again, and could just be coincidental, but one of the things that I think could have been contributing is that plant-based diets tend to be higher in the omega-6 fats because the fatty sources of plant foods like seeds, nuts, they tend to have a lower omega-3 to 6 ratio. And so, you know, those can be higher omega-6 can potentially lead to more inflammation, or at the very least, having a off ratio of those fats can cause a propensity to inflammation, or there's at least some theoretical, mechanistic evidence that is the case. And so, I did take an algae oil supplement, which is high in omega-3s, but it's possible that that could have not been enough to compensate for the higher omega-6s. The other thing that I thought of that could be contributing is I was no longer taking collagen because it is an animal source of amino acids. And so usually I take lots of collagen, and so maybe that could have contributed to the increased inflammation. And then the other thing that was off was my sleep. I had a pretty significant sleep disturbance. A couple of reasons this could be is, overall by lowering carbohydrates, especially after a while, which I was on a ketogenic diet for 3 months prior to doing vegan keto, that can lower your free testosterone. And so lowering your free testosterone can impair sleep. Also, when you're eating a vegan keto diet, it's very easy to be in a calorie deficit. And then me being on keto 3 months prior with doing a lot of fasting, so the chronic, calorie deficit over time can also cause sleep disturbance. And so maybe being on the 4th month of a ketogenic or low carb style diet, that could have disrupted my sleep quality. And then again, with the lower saturated fats and it not producing sex hormones, my lower testosterone can also impair sleep quality. So that was basically my experience. I probably would not do this diet again, at least not this strict of a version of this diet. I did do lab work, and so I'll probably do another video explaining the lab work. Before I did labs before I started my 4-month keto stint, and then after. So, I didn't do labs before the vegan keto experiment, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if after a month of being on vegan keto and eating little to no saturated fat, what my cholesterol panel looks like. So I'll talk about that. But yeah, stay tuned.